Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, maybe you're surprised that I am where I am. I'm not in my office, am I? I'm in my apartment. I'm in my bedroom, in fact, because I made a little boo-boo. Yeah, I prepared everything and I brought everything to work to my office to film this video, and I left the cards at home. So what I decided to do was because I don't do it often, I decided to sneak out early so I could come home and try doing this video today, because really this is my only time during the week to film this, and without the cards I thought it would be a little bit too roughshod, a little bit too haphazard, a little too difficult to understand, actually. So I'm here, I'm in my room, and we're about to film a video, or we are filming a video. And the video that I'm doing today is a continuation, I think, from last week. The spread that we're looking at today, I think, is a continuation from last week. Last week we got the idea of things beginning to start moving, yeah? After a period of being in confinement, in sheltering in place, we got the sense that things were about to move, and things seem to be moving more rapidly today in this spread. However, what do you think about movement, about sudden bursts of energy? Is that something that we want? Probably. If we have been sheltering in place, if we have been staying secure and keeping to ourselves and not venturing out too much, perhaps a burst of energy is exactly what we're desperate for, we want. And that is still very possible. That's still wonderful. But this week's tarot and oracle spread seems to point out some potential pitfalls that we could benefit from being aware of when things do start to move quickly. Now, when things start to move quickly, there's a different kind of stress. There's the stress that we have from, oh my God, when am I going to be able to begin doing what I want to do? Oh my God, when can I start? When is it going to begin? When is my life going to happen? Of course, our lives are happening every moment, but sometimes it feels like that, right? And that causes stress. But then, sometimes when things do start getting moving, we feel a very different kind of stress. So, this week's Tarot and Oracle spread seems to, again, be pointing in that direction. So, friends, what am I going to do? Hopefully, I think I'll be able to do this spread in one video, by the way. So, I'll show you the spread, and then we'll talk about the cards, and then we'll keep on moving. So, friends, here's this week's spread. What do you think of this new spread? Yes, it is a new spread. It's a spread that I developed from the Ace of Wands, from the Tarot of the Holy Light by the wonderful Christine Payne-Towler. So I've done a walkthrough of this spread just to show you how it works and how things fit together. And if you want to see that walkthrough video, I'll put a card up here for you to hop on over and take a look at that, because it could be interesting and you might want to try this spread out yourself. And I think I'll be able to read this spread in one video, because while the number of cards is not all that different between this spread and the Tree of Life spread, which I have been using for the last 3 lunar cycles, I believe, still, there aren't as many different moving parts, you might say. Yeah, we can read this spread in 4 large chunks. So I think I'll be able to fit it into one video. But still, if you want to see the spread, there'll be a card up here for you to use to hop on over to check it out. Maybe use it on your as a spread in your own arsenal. So yes, that was the spread. These are the cards that I'm using for this lunar cycle, and they're lovely. And in case you want to know the names of the cards, the names of the decks, and the names of the creators, there will be a short video at the end of this video that will give you that information. And as usual, there will be links in the description box below if you want to go out and purchase one, or I believe all of them are available. The Oracle deck is independently produced, and I think it is available, but I'm not sure. The other decks are available. I know this for a fact. Well, I'll go back and check, and the information will be in the description box below. Okay, so here we are. You just saw the spread, and did you notice that there were 4 different sections to the spread? Now there was the group of 4 cards at the very tippy top, and that represents the sun, the glowing orb in the Ace of Wands from the Tarot of the Holy Light. And then there were 3 cards vertically. Now those 3 cards represent the plant that is growing in the Ace of Wands. And then there were 3 cards coming in from the side, and those 3 cards represent the hand coming in to take a hold of the sapling that's growing in the Ace of Wands. And then at the very bottom there were 2 oracle cards. They were small. Did you notice them? They represent the fire, but I'm reading those as the advice for the spread. Of course, you could read them as the internal fire that gets things going as well. Your choice. I'm reading them as advice. So that's what the spread looked like. We're going to break it down into those 4 bits. So we're going to start right off with the sun section, the 4 at the very top. Here they are. Those 4 cards you saw, which are supposed to be forming a circle of the sun, but we're working with square cards, so we've got a square. And in the upper left, you saw we started with the 8 of Wands upright, and then we had the Hierophant reversed. We're going clockwise. The Hierophant reversed. Then in the lower right, we had the Page of Cups reversed, and then we have the Page of Wands also reversed. So a lot of reversals in this spread, right? Now, if you know me and you know my use of the Tarot of the Holy Light, that's not surprising. I shuffle in reversals every time I riffle shuffle the deck, and I riffle shuffle the heck out of that deck. So having only 1 card upright was significant. And having that card being the first card out of the pack, out of the deck, that was significant as well. So that's the way we're going to read this grouping of 4. But I'm also going to point out other ways that we can look at that grouping of 4 cards in a square. So we're starting off with the Ace of Wands. 8 of Wands, the 8 of Wands. I wish it were the Ace of Wands. It's the Ace of Wands spread, and this is the 8 of Wands. Let me show it to you. I hope you can see it in this lighting. The 8 of Wands, you can see the beam of light coming down from above, from the sun, bursting the ground into flame. You see the verdant green grass on the other side, right? Let's see, I think the other side would be, let's see, this side for you? Nope, it's this side. Poor guessing. Yes, it's this side. You also see a tree above the flames, which seems to be pretty safe. And we also see a caduceus rising above and through the flames. And at the very bottom, you can see that we've got, we've got Sagittarius and the sun. Because the 8 of Wands points to the Leo decadent of Sagittarius and its subruler, the sun, from which the fixed aspect of mutable fire's vital attributes enter our world. Now, the Leo house of Sagittarius and Leo's planet, the sun, is beaming through. In this card, it's beaming through full force, right? Now, because this is the 3rd decadent of Sagittarius, we also have an exaltation because it's upright, right? The exaltation is Jupiter in Cancer. Cancer ruled by Jupiter, which is a wonderful thing, right? Jupiter is very happy in Cancer, and it adds a little bit of softening water to that intense solar energy beaming through Leo in Sagittarius. Sagittarius. Right, yes, Sagittarius. Sometimes I slip up between Sagittarius and Aquarius, I think. So I'm just double checking myself. So what is this trying to tell us? Well, as it's upright, it tells us that we could be closing in on a goal, getting close to what we want. That is soon to be achieved, right? Like in most 8 of Wands cards in most decks, I mean, even right through the Smith-Waite deck with Pixies, Pamela Coleman Smith's art of those 8 wands flying through the air. Yeah, we've got the idea of sudden acceleration. Yeah, things are moving quickly. Large amounts of energy are about to be released or are being released right now, which is wonderful. And especially since we've been according to the flow of the spreads we've been doing, we've been kind of stuck in place and enjoying the potentials that are revealed through meditation and introspection. And now things are going to be starting to move a little bit more quickly. So, that's all wonderful. But there are some caveats here. Yeah? This card is also a reminder that we must master ourselves before we can avail ourselves of our resources. Now, because the resources are a little bit hot to handle. And we want to be in good control of ourselves to be able to make use of the fire that is newly burning, right? We want to conquer our fear of that fire as well. That fire can make us scared. Sometimes that burst of energy can be a little bit frightening, even if it's something we wanted. Even if it's something we've prayed for months and months and even years. When it actually starts happening, we can scare ourselves. Like, oh my God, it's really happening. Has that ever happened to you? So we're asked to take a breath, perhaps, and observe our fear of the fire before we can be able to put it to use productively. Yeah? Because if we start grabbing in our fear, just reaching out blindly and grabbing for that burning stuff without mastering our fear of it, we're going to hurt ourselves, or we could hurt other people, or it could burst into much greater flames and burn out of control. So we're asked to look at our fear. We're asked to consider who we are and what we would benefit from mastering before we try to take advantage of that newly appearing, what does fire do? That newly ignited fire. And with this exaltation of Jupiter in Cancer, we might have expanded intuition. Yeah, Jupiter expands. The water of Cancer is very intuitive. It's also protective. But that expansion could be an expansion of intuition as well, which can aid us in understanding how that fire got ignited so quickly without our, perhaps even surprisingly, not without our knowing it, but perhaps surprisingly, especially in its speed. And our intuition can help us with that, but our intuition can also help us with our understanding of how we might be able to manage ourselves and navigate this burst of energy, which is wonderful. But that intuition that is so expansive can also sometimes feel out of control. Like there's so much information coming in that it's, whoa, what am I supposed to do with all of this, right? There could be that kind of, what am I supposed to do with all of this information? Or which of it is actually intuition and which of it is just fantasy, and it could be intuition overload as well, right? So, taking a breath is taking a beat, taking a breath, taking a moment, at least, is going to benefit us. Also, we want to learn. We want to learn from our interactions with other people and our reactions to other people and situations, and our emotional intelligence as well with Cancer. We want to learn from our emotional intelligence as well, so that we will have the capacity to interact with this burst of flames well, right? So this is the igniting force of this spread, I believe, of this Ace of Wands. And this is the light that is beaming into our world, particularly through this upright card. And right next to this upright card, we had the Hierophant reversed. And this is an interesting card. It's a gorgeous card. Yeah, we can see that the Hierophant, instead of standing up before two acolytes in a very gentle-looking gesture of blessing, we've got this very powerful being flying in the air with 2 feet on 2 planets and the sun and the moon and 2 other planets sitting on another planet, flying through the air, right? And we've got both the the alchemical male and female sitting down in front of the Hierophant as well. Yeah, perhaps getting ready for, preparing for the alchemical union down there. And the Hierophant in this deck points to Aries, which is the domicile of Mars, from which cardinal fire's vital attributes enter our world. Now, there's a lot of fire in this spread. Ace of Wands spread, not a surprise, but there's a lot of fire in this spread. We had the Leo decadent of Sagittarius, and right now we've got Aries, reversed, but we have Aries. And the Hierophant also, being the fifth card, echoes with or resonates with the fifth letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is He. He. Do you recognize He? Yod He Vav He. Yeah, it's the second and doubled feminine Hebrew letter of the divine name, Yod He Vav He, which is impronounceable, right? So it's the He in the divine tetragram. It's the creative feminine. Yeah, it points to perhaps Sophia. It's the taking of and giving of self as well. He. It's to look, to reveal, and to breathe. Remember, breathe, breath. Yeah, breath, pneumen. Is that breath? The idea of breath is the same idea as spirit. In the Judeo-Christian Bible, we see that God breathed life into the red clay of Adam. Right? The animating spirit is through breath. So breath is also indicated here in He. Now, as far as runes go, the fifth rune is Raido, and it kind of looks like an R. And Raido is a new way in life, yeah? Beginning new things, new cycles, new perspectives, new rhythms, yeah? Or just plain old cycles and rhythms as well. It could be communication. It could also be reconciliation, which are all wonderful things for the Hierophant. But we got the Hierophant in reverse. So there's a block to a lot of that. The cycles are being blocked. The creative force is being blocked, perhaps. The reconciliation that is possible, like the alchemical male and female, the sun and the moon sitting at the bottom, that reconciliation or the union of those two is being blocked. So this Hierophant, which generally is the one who is bringing in new acolytes and initiating new people into the mysteries of the wisdom traditions or the mysteries of alchemy or whatever floats your boat. Here we have a Hierophant that is not in that position. This Hierophant desperately makes up edicts and persecutes charismatic individuals that are starting to break from the group. Now, this Hierophant is desperate for control. Yeah? Because they want to hide their own feelings of incompetence, their own, what do we call that? Imposter syndrome. And maybe they are imposters, but maybe it's just the syndrome, that feeling of not being up to the job, not being adequate. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not enough, right? So, and that's interesting coming out of that Eight of Wands, right? When things start going quickly and we know we've got to figure things out and we know that we've got to figure out how to manage this burst of energy, this burst of activity, and then we suddenly start feeling like, I don't know what to do, and then to compensate, we overcompensate, and we say, okay, so you do this, you do that, you do the other, and what are you doing going over there? You get back into line, right? I mean, that's whether that's other people or aspects of self, or people in our family, our friends, whatever, we can start overcompensating, and I think that's what this is pointing to. There might also be a feeling of weak loyalty in this card as well. Weak loyalty to those we are interacting with, weak loyalty to the activities that we're doing. We have to have a sense of loyalty to the tasks we are doing, especially if they start ramping up in energy, for us to be able to keep up with them, right? Without any loyalty to the wonderful things that we think we do want to do, we'll start falling behind and we'll have a difficult time catching up. Has that ever happened to you? That happened to me a lot. So loyalty to people, but also to the things that we have wanted to do, the intentions that we have placed out there on our powerful current of intention. We could be lacking a little bit of loyalty to those things that we want. Again, because we've been shaken up by things going so quickly, so suddenly. The light needs to penetrate into the dark, hidden spaces of ourselves and our agreements between people here. Our only full transparency will address the issues. So the solution to this is to allow transparency, allow the light to come in. And the light is there. It's not like there is no light to shine in. The light is there, and we are being asked to open ourselves to it, rather than closing ourselves up because we are afraid that if somebody looks inside, they'll see that we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough, or we're not talented enough, or not. So these things together seemed like a really clear message. And what are these two sitting on? They're sitting on our two pages in reverse, right? We've got let's start with this Page of Cups. Where are you, Page of Cups? Here's the Page of Cups. Page of Cups. Let me show him to you upright. Beautiful card. Sun behind the head. Both of these pages, both the Page of Wands and the Page of Cups, both have the sun beaming from behind their heads. They're both beautiful. This Page of Cups has do you see the eye of the divine back there, peering in from the non-physical and pouring water down into the environment of the Page of Cups? Beautiful card. And this page is the page of the summer solstice. This page serves the Queen of Cups, which is Cancer. Right? And we had a little bit of Cancer as the exaltation of the Eight of Wands. So Cancer is a little bit elevated here, a little bit ramped up here. But our poor page is in reverse. Now, our poor page, who is very artistic, is very able to communicate with others, and is able to, has all of the interior skills of art, music, education, all of those things, all of the sensitivity and emotional connection in reverse. In reverse, there's not so much of a blockage, but there's a drop of energy, a drop of ability to maintain boundaries. So this page feels the consequences of his, her, or their delicate metabolism. Now they are so affected by the energy around us or them that we can be overwhelmed, we can be drained, we can be damaged, we can be hurt, we can be shocked, we can be taken down by the intensity that's going around us. And we're in a spot here of heightened intensity, right? So our delicate metabolisms, or our metabolisms, can become delicate here. We could lose our sense of grounding. We could get, like I was saying, input overload. Too much coming in. And so we're advised to take time to close ourselves off from the input channels, to close our input channels down from time to time, to be able to metabolize those so that they don't metastasize instead. Not too much energy coming in without any time and space to metabolize them. Those things can become cancerous and they can metastasize instead, if that makes sense. So this page also is partnered by an equally beautiful page here. These pages aren't so young, right? That's very good. The Page of Wands. Beautiful. This is the page of the spring equinox. And this page serves the Queen of Wands, which is the Queen, which is the what? Which is Aries in this deck. Aries. We had Aries in just a moment ago, right? And it's interesting. Kitty corner, we had the Eight of Wands with Jupiter in Cancer going down to the Page of Cups, which serves the Queen of Cups, which is Cancer. Yeah, we had the Hierophant, which was Aries, reversed, but was Aries, and the Hierophant connects Kitty corner to the Page of Wands, which serves the Queen of Wands, which is Aries in this deck. So Aries, Aries, Cancer, Cancer. Very, very interesting. Here, okay, sorry. This is the Page of Wands. Beautiful card. We got the sun above and behind. We got the sun down and below. We got the moons there. This page is holding a wand with a moon on the top of it, right? Am I right? Let me look. No, it's not a moon at the top. It's just a plain old stick. I'm sorry. I saw something different in my copy, my Xerox, my black and white copy of the card in front of me. So who is the Page of Wands? The Page of Wands is the one who's able to go out and get things done for the Queen, right? They can get people to do the things that the Queen wants them to do. They have power to use their charisma to get people to follow them and to do the things that they think should be done without the people really knowing that they're being manipulated into, they are being drawn, like Dracula draws you, drawn into activities they might not have otherwise done. The Page of Wands is a clever, clever being. In reverse, the Page of Wands sometimes can fall into the trap of their humility, which they use to be able to navigate society without being recognized normally when it's upright. But here they're hiding behind their humility can get them into trouble, especially when they're far from home. Now they can start losing their power a little bit. And so this page would benefit from keeping their own counsel, watching their back, not because they're really afraid of assassins out there or people ready to stab them back there, but because they're out in the middle of nowhere and they can trip and fall, if nothing else. It's not necessarily that we're wary of assassins. We could just take a wrong step and hurt ourselves. Especially because the energy has been ramped up now, right? We want to cover our backs. The page has the power, even in reverse, to interfere with those who think they are in control, because he knows too much, she knows too much, they know too much, and they've been taken into other people's counsel without it being known that they've been taken into the counsel of other people too. So they have a lot of information that could be dangerous. But here we're suggested to keep it all to ourselves. Yeah? To keep outside of the existing systems right now. To watch our backs, to watch where we're stepping, to watch who we're interacting with and how we're interacting with them. And recognize that we may be a little bit unpredictable right now. Yeah? And we may be a little difficult to defend against. We may be a little bit difficult to defend against. And so we don't want to do anything that could hurt other people as well. Right? Hopefully, you don't want to do anything that'll hurt people unintentionally, do you? No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be manipulative out of some kind of a knee-jerk reaction because we're so overwhelmed by the what's going on around us that we are just trying to figure out a way to get what we think needs to be done. Have you ever found yourself unintentionally manipulating other people into doing what you think that needed to be done and then regretted it afterwards? It's a potential pitfall. Especially because we are here. We're here in this Eight of Wands ramped up energetic state. And so, things that, we read this group in a circle. So we've got at the top, we got that ramped up energy, and we got the potential of, imposter syndrome. We might be doing things kind of, not some, maybe shady, but not necessarily shady, not necessarily shady. Perhaps in a way that is just self-protective. Rather than being open and transparent, we're working behind our own facade. And we're trying to get people to do stuff for us. And below that, perhaps the reasons are that we're overly affected by that ramped up energy, and we have the potential for doing some possibly damaging things unintentionally. And it's interesting that the Hierophant reversed, where are we, Hierophant reversed? The Hierophant reversed was, again, kitty corner to the Page of Wands reversed, right? These two cards. They were like this, right? But they interact together. Yeah? Because this desperation to make edicts and to cover up ourselves and because we might feel like we are imposters, speaks to that, but still, we still know too much and we could be dangerous. And instead of doing that, we want to keep our own counsel. We want to be transparent, but we also want to keep our own counsel. We don't want to blab everything that we know, but the things that we are doing, we want to do transparently. Does that make sense? And then, in this way, in the, here we go, the Eight of Wands and the Page of, no, I'm sorry, wait a second. Yes, the Eight of Wands and the Page of Cups reversed. These two interact as well, right? There's all this ramped up energy, and there's maybe some fears and insecurities triggered, which could bring us to this, right? Which is that we could begin to have delicate metabolisms, yeah? And we want to take time to close ourselves off, to find a way to turn the faucets off, to be able to metabolize what we have experienced. Right? That makes sense, doesn't it? So this is what's beaming into our experience in the coming week. Now we're going to take a look at what is growing in that light. So friends, here is the next group of cards. This is a wonderful deck that I'm so happy to finally begin working with. This is a deck that is a recreation of a deck created by Eudes Picard. Now, Eudes Picard, do you know anything about him? He lived in the latter half of the 19th century to 20th century, and he's a Spanish creator. And Eudes Picard decided to focus on the minor arcana. So many of the people who wrote about the mysticism and the esotericism and the Hermeticism, all of that wonderful stuff about the Tarot, focus a lot of energy, a lot of thought on the major arcana, which is wonderful, But so much of the time, the minor arcana is either ignored or given just a cursory glance, right? Having someone who really focused on and thought about the minor arcana and redrew the minor arcana in a very deliberate way, I think is wonderful. Now, this is before Pamela Coleman Smith did her take on the minor arcana. And this system is just a little bit weird, a little bit different. Now, if you recall, C.C. Zane and the Brotherhood of Light, they switched the suits in their deck. Yeah, they switched the suits of swords and coins. So that swords were earth and coins were air. Swords were the work, coins were the thoughts. In this deck, we switch two different suits. Swords again. This deck switches the swords and the cups, so that the swords are the thoughts. Now, the way I see it is that the swords are the thoughts which stab into our emotions. And just as a sword pierces water and goes down in water. So when you see a sword card in his decks, in the renditions of his deck, you'll see the swords are there in water. Now the cups are imagined as crystalline for the Eudes Picard deck. They're crystal, they're transparent, you can see through them. And so that's why we get the idea of air for the cups. Rather than a container for water, they're crystalline and they're transparent, just like our thoughts. So this deck has those reversals, and you'll see that you just saw that we did get a sword card, which was in water. Did that surprise you a little bit? Because what you saw from this group, which is the sprout, it's the sapling that is growing up in the light of that powerful group of 4 cards. We had, from the bottom, we had the, what was that? We had the 3 of Swords, and then we had the Wheel of Fortune, and then the Moon card. Very interesting. Very, very interesting progression. And that's the direction we're going to read them in, because I'm thinking of this as being a sprout that's growing up from the bottom to the top. That makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you? Let me know in the comments below. So friends, we're starting with the 3 of Swords. And the 3 of Swords, let's see, I got my cards backwards here. The 3 of Swords is interesting. It's a beautiful card. Look at all that blue. Do you see the water? Do you see the 3 lily leaves there? One of them between the 3, in the center of the triangle of 3 swords, and then 2 on the outside. And then there's that upturned fish above it. That is definitely a dead looking fish. And no, this card is not reversed. This is upright. And that sense of something has gone belly up is part of the meaning of this card in this deck. So in the 3 of Swords, what we see is murky water. Yeah? We see something going belly up. We see a de-evolution of a situation and discomfort about that. Now things are going awry. So it's a little different from the 3 swords being stuck in somebody's heart, that heartbreak card. This is our feelings around things not going well and are not being able to perceive clearly and feel clearly because our emotional waters are murky, not clear, not pristine. So there could be an indication of an inability to talk things through or to reach a consensus here in the 3 of Swords. Our thoughts and our communication could be dividing the group, could be dividing a group of people that we want to work with or express with or live with. Or it could be the group of our internal psyche that could be causing division within. That could be strife between internal aspects of self as well, I believe, in this card. Because remember, we're here under the water, so maybe there's an unconscious division going on. Instead of the unification that we hope for in individuation, we're experiencing a moment or a time of things breaking apart and conflict, internal conflict beginning, or at least internal misunderstanding and lack of cooperation, either within ourselves or with other people out in the world. Which is possible, right? With that light that we were talking about of ramped up energy coming in from above and our perhaps feeling of imposter syndrome and all of that, what could begin to be growing here is something that is uncomfortable and divisive, and communication could break down. You know? And that could rise us up to this, which is the Wheel of Fortune, right? And the Wheel of Fortune in this deck points to Capricorn of all things. Yeah? Capricorn, which is the domicile of Saturn, not a very happy planet, right? It's not one of the beneficent planets. It's a very non-beneficent planet, but still not a bad planet. Saturn is the one who comes in and sets rules and creates boundaries and cuts off the bad stuff and prunes and weeds and gives time limitations and sets the rules, right? So the Wheel of Fortune has Capricorn, which is the domicile of Saturn, from which cardinal Earth's vital attributes enter our world. So in this deck, the Wheel of Fortune is Capricorn wanting to get up that mountain to succeed, to become the successful one. As Capricorn also admires this people or the successful ones that they see around them. And maybe feel a little bit of an imposter syndrome as well. Now, the Wheel of Fortune also is the 10th card, which points to the Hebrew letter Yod. We had He above, right? The feminine divine. Here we have the masculine divine. Yod, He, Vav, He. It's the first letter of the Tetragrammaton. And it's the finger or hand of God. It could be the hand of fate. It could be a creative hand as well. And as being the 10th card, it's also pointing to the rune of Nadiz. Nadiz looks like a line. Well, here, let me show you. A line with another line going this way or across it. That's Nadiz, if you're curious. And that's the card of desire, wanting things, needing things. But that need is also the mother of innovation, right? Need is the mother of invention, they say. So that's also an aspect of Nadiz. Yeah, need, desire, but also innovation. But also disruption. And the desire to overcome that disruption. So it's one of those, yes, this and that. Disruption and the desire to overcome it. The desire and the need for something and the innovation and inventiveness to solve that need. All in one. Which it makes sense for the Wheel of Fortune, right? The Wheel of Fortune is perceived as both negative and positive. So this in the weight, I'm also referring to, not weight, what's his name? Wirth. To Wirth's intentions, because we're also reading with a Wirth-based deck in this spread. And for Wirth, the Wheel of Fortune is Malkuth. It's the kingdom. It's the manifestation of the first 9 cards of the major arcana. It's also sovereignty of will. It's not only the supplication to fate, it's also the sovereignty of will. Here, the seeds are sown, and those seeds are receiving fertilizing energy. And definitely receiving fertilizing energy in this spread particularly, because that's where we began, that energy beaming down. Overcoming difficulties, changes for the better, opportunities can be seized. So when this card came out, I thought, wow, how are we going to read that? Does that mean that things going belly up are going to be what changes our fortune to something bad? To something unwanted? Or is this the solution to this? Is this what, okay, so things seem to be going belly up and there's discommunication, and so there's the possibility of things changing, of our being able to do the work of moving the wheel, to have things go better. To have our opportunities available for us to get a hold of, to overcome the difficulties that perhaps we're even creating for ourselves. And so the next card we see here is the moon. And this was like, oh, well, then what the heck is now what? Now what? Because the moon is very often read as a very negative card, right? Now, in this deck, the moon is associated with Cancer, which is the domicile of the moon. And remember, we had Cancer up there at the top, right? We had the Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer, the exaltation and the Eight of Wands. We also had Cancer as the Page of Wands serving the Queen, who is Cancer. And so we got Cancer here again. And both of those Cancer aspects were positive and negative, right? And the moon, being the domicile of Cancer, points to cardinal water's vital attributes entering our world. You know, that protective, move forward, let's emotionally get our stuff together. And the moon points to the Hebrew letter Tzaide, which is a javelin or a fish hook. Fish hook. I'm not sure we'd want to hook that fish, but a fish hook. It also refers to the number 90. Yeah, it's the 10th card, but the 10th card represents the number 90 in Hebrew numeration. And 90 is the age of Sarah in the Old Testament, who thought that she was barren, and she received an annunciation, and that annunciation said that she was going to have a baby, and she had a baby when she was 90 years old. And that baby was the first of the lineage that became Israel. Now, she birthed the nation of Israel at the age of 90. So we got that idea of births happening, as well as things being able to be grabbed and caught and hooked. Now, the rune is Berkana, which is interesting because Berkana, which kind of looks like a bee, is the rune of beginnings, new beginnings, fertility, association with, Sarah, 90 years old, giving birth, regeneration, love affairs also, but also birth. So this moon card with Cancer, we've got those ideas of births and fertility, those lunar cycles as well, right? And now I keep wanting to say weight. It's not weight, it's worth. Worth points to this card and says objectivity, which is interesting. Because usually we think of the sun when we think of objectivity, right? There's a visible form here. After the guiding star of the star card, we begin to have a visible form in the moon. This is the theater of human life, our imagination, our clairvoyance, and our fantasies. Also, our sensitivity is here in the moon, just like Cancer's, right? But there's a spirit of adventure because Cancer is not a stay-at-home crab, right? They're a cardinal crab. They move sideways. But for them, that's forward. It's learning to travel by our own light. The star, we see the star outside and we follow that North Star. In the moon, he says, he being Wirth, says that we can now travel by our own light, follow our soul's path. And there's an attraction towards the unknown, which can be dangerous. I mean, there is the potential for slipping up in this card as well, even with Wirth's representations. Also the potential for revealing dreams, such as Sarah's revealing dream, the annunciation that she would have a baby after when she was 90 years old. So we've got all of that. So what is this pointing to? Well, so we had that light of the sun coming down, right? All that intense energy with all of the potential ramifications around that, but that sense of imposter syndrome and our being sensitive and all of that, I think that's what begins this line of growth here with the things seeming to be belly up. Yeah, there's all this energy, but things are going belly up. Something's going wrong. And we're dividing either within ourselves or from other people. And so we have the potential to turn the wheel. And I think we have the potential to turn the wheel one way or the other. We could turn it towards improvement or towards dissolution here. Because Capricorn can slip and fall as well. But, so then this card gives us two paths. The moon card gives us two paths. We can follow if we take the wheel, turn it in the direction of our desires and needs and things being met and moving in the direction of changes for the better and seizing the opportunities that we can seize because we have paid attention in the Eight of Wands and are now able to take advantage of our resources. Then this card, we're able to then say, yes, I can follow my soul light. My soul light can guide me. My intuition, which was ramped up with Jupiter in Cancer, here, I can follow that because I can trust it. Or we could go the other way, yeah? We could let the wheel of fortune, we could let it turn, or without our paying attention, just turn it and say, oh, well, I didn't do that, in the direction that we don't want, of fortunes going bad, you know? And blame it all on God, blame it on the finger of God, which would push us into fears and the fearful side of the moon card. Imagination, but imagination gone wrong. Yeah? Fantasizing our downfall, fantasizing the dissolution and the breakdown of things. So there are two possible plants growing up in this one spot indicated by these three cards. So now we've got another set of three cards, which is going to tell us how we can take a hold of that sapling, how we can understand it, or how we can grasp the opportunity that is growing for us in the light of the divine. Let's take a look at those three cards. These are three cards, and these are the cards that came from the redrawing of the Wirth deck and the Picard deck all together. And again, the information about these decks will be at the end of this video, so remember that. And you saw from left to right, now this is the hand reaching out in the Ace of Wands to grasp the growing sapling. And we started off from left with the Sun card, happy card, then the Ace of Coins, another potentially happy card, and then the Six of Cups, which didn't look so happy, did it? And that's the direction that we're going to be reading these in, I believe. The hand coming, if this makes sense, imagine that this is the hand, this is the side of the card, the hand coming in to grasp that sapling, right? So we're starting off with the Sun, and here comes the Sun. It's a beautiful card. Very modern redrawing of it, but very Wirth style drawing. That gold internal border here around the edges, beautifully done card. I love it. We have the male and the female standing there, the alchemical pair. We have the Sun up above shining brightly, and they're in front of a fence. And the Sun for Wirth points to Gemini, which is the house of, which is the the domicile of Mercury, from which these mutable heirs, vital attributes enter our world, enter our natal charts, enter the question we're asking of the Tarot, which is how can we live this week more intentionally? And how do we reach in and take a hold of that thing that is growing in the divine light? And the way we start off with is the Sun. And the Sun is card number 19. The 19th Hebrew letter is Kof. It kind of sounds like Kof, I guess. Kof, which is has the meaning of monkey, something that imitates a human life. And it looks like a P, but it's to represent the back of the head. The amygdala, you might say. That pre-human mind. And so it refers to a monkey. It also associates with the Sun by some, surprisingly. Yeah, Kof is also associated with the Sun and mimicking human traits, trying to pretend to be a human. Now, as the 19th rune, we have Sewillah. And Sewillo also points to the sun. Sewillo kind of looks like an S and was poorly adopted by the Nazis and their SS, the SS, you know the SS from World War II, right? They took that Sewillo rune and used it to their own purposes, just like they took the Buddhist swastika and used it to their own purposes as well. They mutated and did great damage to, of course, human life, but also to symbols with deep historic meanings as well, which is, I mean, not the worst of what they did, but also a layer of some of the damage that the Nazis did, right? So Sewillo is not an evil rune. It's a very positive one. It's associated with the sun. It's also associated with vitality, with using energy to change our lives, which is that's where we started off this whole reading with, right? Also for movement, moving forward. Now, Wirth in the Sun card points to the primordial light giving order to chaos, which comes from the moon, where we had we had the movement forward, we had following our soul light. Here we have the primordial light giving order. After the star card, after the moon card, now we start getting order, harmony, friendship, but also, interestingly, developing life skills, which I think is an important thing for this card and this spread. Reason, clarity of judgment, also important for this spread. Physical activity, creation, evolution, walking the path back to paradise. Yeah, we've gone through all the tribulation and we found our North Star, we started following our soul, and now we're moving in the path of going towards judgment, right? Towards getting ready to rise back into paradise. Clairvoyance is also here, as opposed to intuition. Clairvoyance, seeing clearly, even that which is not here. True knowledge, banishing false prophecy. The false prophecy, which is potential in the moon card, as the shadow side, the dark side of that moon card, right? It can be banished here. So that's where we begin to be able to reach in and take a hold of that which is growing for us. And perhaps being able to start to change the direction of the wheel of fortune. With the sun, with with harmony, with developing our own life skills, even when we're sitting in our own safe spaces, we could be developing our life skills. But now is a particularly important time for us to develop our life skills, according to the spread. Because if we do that, then we'll be able to move a little bit closer with the Ace of Coins, with the Ace of Pentacles. And here it's coins, not pentacles, I'm sorry. And in the Ace of Coins, we've got financial resources. We also have other material resources that are available to us. And we see the value of things. Now, there might be a little bit of dependence here on economy, either positive or negative dependence on money here as well. So we want to be careful of that. But there is pure potential in this card. Even Wirth points to that. The pure potential. Eudes Picard points to that as well. Pure potential. There's a seed here with roots growing, moving towards it. Nutrients can begin to be absorbed and metabolized. So there's potential here, but it's not secure yet, right? It's far from being secure. And you'll notice, of course, that we go from the sun, and that energy of the sun kind of echoes here in that Ace of Coins. So we have that the sun card leads to an opportunity, and our being able to tap into the resources that we have, whether they're financial, being money, or other kinds of resources, time, that ramped up energy. Energy is a resource as well. Interpersonal, the resources of other people as well are possible. Our internal resources, our psychosomatic resources. And this leads us to a very interesting card. the Six of Cups. Now in the Smith-Waite deck, we see the Six of Cups card as a nostalgia card. We see two figures, possibly children, not necessarily children. They could be small people. We don't know that. I mean, a lot of people just make assumptions that they're short, so they must be children. They're not necessarily children. But we do see two figures in what looks like the garden of an established home, and one figure is getting ready or is giving a cup with a flower to another figure. And there's a person way in the background as well. Not many people notice that right off the bat. But here in the Six of Cups, instead of nostalgia and those remembrances of emotions past, we have a binary look to this card. We have the light up above and the dark below. Light air at the top and dark air at the bottom. You see the two heads of the birds, right? Two heads of birds here, indicating that this is an air suit. These cups, these chalices are the air. And in this card, we have the binary dividing into two sets of three. So so we got the sun, we got that opportunity, but there's still that potential of division. As we just are about to reach out and grasp that sapling, there's that potential for division here. There's hesitation, there are doubts. Doubts in our emotional life, perhaps. Doubts in ourselves. There are decisions that are being asked to be made here. And there's an echo of the Lover's card here in the sixes, right? The six of the major arcana is the Lovers, the choice, needing to make a choice. But here that choice is insecure. Our thoughts create a flurry of potential creativity, but also of distraction and inability to choose. And this is the key, I think, to this spread here, is that we got to get this under control. Not so much under control like under lock and chain, but get the mind under control so that we don't confuse ourselves. The busy thoughts that are happening because of that burst of energy coming down from above can be very distracting. And those busy thoughts can be creative, but they can also cause our hesitation and our inability to really get a hold of that thing that is growing, that potential that is growing in the light of the sun with all of that energy. There's that potential missing of that connection. Right? So if we want to live intentionally, what do we want to do? We want to allow those thoughts to pass through us, observed, so that we can get benefit of any potential creativity, but not cause us to lose our ability to make a decision, to go with something, to decide on something, to move when it is appropriate. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And we're going to get some advice in just a second. But you see how this energy moves, right? We move from the sun into this opportunity, and then, we could still miss. We could still drop the ball. We could still hesitate and lose our chance of grasping what is growing for us in the light of the sun with that ramped up energy. Even with all of our imposter syndrome and our sensitivity and our potential reactivity and potential to do a little bit of harm because we are being reactive. Still, there's that opportunity, and we could still miss that opportunity if we're not allowing ourselves to live intentionally. So friends, in order for us to be able to live intentionally in this season of the Eight of Wands and these cards, let me show you the two pieces of advice that we got from a very beautiful oracle deck. Here they are. This deck is just gorgeous. These cards are small. They're teeny tiny little cards. They're bridge-sized cards. right? But the colors in this deck are just amazing. And they're very good cards for an intentional life, I believe. They're a good oracle deck for intentional living. And they reflect a lot of the Eastern, Western, a lot of Eastern philosophy and attributes and ideas, which I love. And we got together both Yogini and the Censor. Let me show you these cards up close and personal. Yeah, rainbow of colors. You see the Yogini sitting in not a lotus posture, but cross-legged, holding their hands above their heads. And then we see a censer, yeah, something that we would put incense in, and you see the smoke rising above the censer. The Yogini card says, move in silence to seek the answers. The censer says, release to create sacred space. Beautiful advice. And what is it specifically pointing us towards? Well, the Yogini card, the female yogi, the Yogini, is pointing us to move in silence, to seek the answers, to relax, to move. And relaxed movement, like in yoga, but other kinds of relaxed movement would benefit us, especially as that page of cups reversed, because we're sensitive. Having some relaxed movement time would be beneficial for us. Yoga, or whatever our movement practice might be, walking could be your movement practice, walking out in nature could be your movement practice, could be dance, but slow, smooth, rhythmic dance would benefit us, to prepare us for meditation and to connect with the divine. So this is also reminding us to meditate. This is a perfect time for meditation. Every time is a perfect time for meditation. But meditate, yes. Breathe. Focus on, breath focus will help us. Help us to find our attention in the midst of distractions. So making use of breath practice, whether it's a seated meditation breath practice or another kind of breath practice where we're give awareness to our breath as we wash the dishes, as we vacuum the house, as we do whatever work we're doing. So the quieter the mind, the more we can truly hear. And that's what this card is reminding us of. As I move in silence, the answers that I seek will reveal themselves. So in this flurry of activity, finding our silence, finding our movement in silence, to perhaps prepare us both to sit, to give awareness to breath, spirit. Remember, we mentioned breath up there, the breath, spirit, to give attention to that so that we can hear the information that is available to us. And the paired advice for this is censor, which is to release, to create sacred space. Release, purify, shifting stagnant energy. And even in the midst of a flurry of activity, there could be pockets of stagnation which we're dragging along with us. So what in our sacred space needs to be released? Give some attention to that. Clearing out your space, physical space, will also help give more space for that intensified energy that's coming into our lives right now. Because we might notice how the spaces that we inhabit reflect our inner space. Whether it's our living space, our working space, the spaces we inhabit reflect our inner space, our inner states. And the more chaotic, the more disorganized, my office is disorganized, but there's a kind of disorganization that is helpful and creative. I know where everything is, and I can get to it like that. But there's also the kind of organization that I can slip into where I don't know where anything is anymore. And it's that difference that is important. If our space is confusing to us and we start running into things and unable to find things, and there's we notice that negative energy is beginning to pile up around the way our spaces are because we don't like them or because they are not functioning for us. That's what we want to pay attention to here. Because our sacred space, all of our spaces are sacred spaces. Our sacred space is a reflection of our inner peace or lack thereof. So, give some attention to cleaning it up, just as we give attention to cleaning up our mental, psychological, spiritual space. With meditation, moving in silence, and listening, truly listening to breath, and opening ourselves to listen to the silence. That's the advice for this week, and good advice for a time of ramped up energy. Does that make sense? I think this whole spread reads beautifully. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that other people might like this video. It helps the channel if you hit that thumbs up button. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And also hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm going to try and keep doing 3 videos a week. We'll see how that works out. I might have to drop off for a week or so, because we drop down to 2 for a week or so because finals are coming, but we'll see. And yes, comment below. I'd really love to hear from you. What do you think? If you want a reading from me, my email address is below. Shoot me an email to thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com and we'll get you a reading. 3-card spread, Tree of Life spread. You want me to try this spread out for you? We'll try this spread out for you if you want. By video, by just photo and email, or by Zoom, whatever. We can get you a reading. So friends, here we are. 1 video. Thank you for following along with me. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.